Hi guys, this is Nada from Tech Testers and welcome back to our channel. Today we have here the brand new 1660 Ti, and the very first one we got is actually from ASUS, the ROG Strix model. Now I know that a lot of you have been waiting for the new affordable graphics card to come out for quite some time now, and it's finally here. So let's see how the new NVIDIA chip performs, and let's see how this card compares to some of the other 1660 Ti's that we received. Let's go. This video is brought to you by Corsair's new Dominator Platinum RGB memory. With their high speeds, beautifully crafted aluminum heat spreaders, and innovative RGB technology, these modules take RGB memory to the next level. Get yours using the links in the description below. Considering how much has been said about the new NVIDIA architecture, I'm not going to get into that as much. I'm just going to talk about what matters to gamers most at the end of the day. However, it is important to say that the GTX 1660 Ti uses the same Turing architecture as the RTX 20 series does, and not the Pascal like the GTX 10 series did. It's just missing the RT and the tensor cores that are used for ray tracing and DLSS. So it is a completely new chip. They're marketing it as a successor of a GTX 1060, but calling it 80% of an RTX 2060 is probably more representative of what you should expect from this card. As for ASUS, they'll be launching several models. The simple one-fan Phoenix will be their baseline model at around €279, NVIDIA's recommended baseline pricing for the chip. An OC version of that will sell for a bit more. Very creatively named dual-fan dual version would be around €319, and what we have here today is the high-end ROG Strix version that promises to be the ultimate GTX 1660 Ti that should be around €340. ROG Strix models have stuck to their tried and tested design for some time, so the ROG version of the GTX 1660 Ti shouldn't really surprise anyone at this point. Now that's not a bad thing, as the three-fan design looks great. It is clearly well made, the backplate is beautiful, and it looks and feels like a proper high-end GPU. I'm happy they went with the new fan model from the RTX 2080 and RTX 2080 Ti to set it apart from the 10 series design, but I'm not sure why they didn't do that with the 2060 and 2070s. It also retains the dual BIOS feature, allowing you to switch from quiet mode to performance mode, both of which we'll test, as well as the LED off switch. You will need an 8-pin PSU connector to power it, and it offers 2 display ports and 2 HDMI connections for your monitors. On the side of the card, ASUS added 2 fan connectors, allowing you to control 2 case fans directly based on the GPU temperatures, and there is also an RGB connector to hook up another RGB accessory. Let's look at the baseline performance of a nicely overclocked GTX 1660 Ti like this. For the majority of games, we see it near, sometimes even surpassing an overclocked GTX 1070. Now that's not a bad performance level. It makes it a great 1080p card, but if you are serious about 1440p gaming, I'd recommend considering the RTX 2070 at least. The GTX 1060 remains far away in majority of benchmarks, putting weight to NVIDIA's claim that this card is about 50% faster. But we do see the GTX 1660 Ti failing to pull away in certain games, like Ghost Recon Wildlands, for example. Now the reason for this is simple. As the design of the GTX 1660 Ti is technically better, with it being able to handle certain tasks independently from others, it does rely on games making use of that. In certain older games, that means we'll see small performance increase. But as new games come out, we should expect the GTX 1660 Ti pulling further ahead of its predecessor, as well as the GTX 1070 for that matter. FPS-wise, the Vega 56 is a bit faster in general and costs around the same to buy, but it uses about twice the power. That means more heat to deal with, and if you game a lot, the power cost isn't something to ignore. And how did the ASUS ROG Strix do against the MSI Gaming Z and Gigabyte Gaming OC? Fantastically well, actually. We can clearly see the design being objectively the most efficient by quite a margin. In performance mode, it's quieter and cooler than Gigabyte's Gaming OC model, and while MSI is just a bit quieter, the ASUS in performance mode is 10 degrees cooler. In silent mode, it's a bit cooler and a lot quieter. Of course, it is quite large, so do check compatibility. Now we do have to ask ourselves how important these numbers are, as even 38 decibels at 50 centimeters from an open bench is whisper quiet, and even low 60 degrees temperatures are no reason for concern. Considering we're only pulling about 180 to 280 watts for a complete system with a Core i9 while gaming, it is clear that NVIDIA's design is so incredibly efficient, it will probably be hard to make a hot, loud GTX 1660 Ti product. That also means that basically any half-decent PSU can pull a GTX 1660 Ti build, and that is very nice for you OEM system owners out there. Looking at raw speeds, you won't be able to tell the performance between these higher-end GTX 1660 Ti's apart, and those speeds vary by sample anyway. Still, it is good to see that it overclocks great right out of the box. Before we conclude, we obviously have to RGB geek a bit, with ASUS again staying true to the ROG form. I do think at this point it is fair to say that maybe it's time for a bit of an RGB update, or just anything else to set it apart more from the ROG models from 3 years ago. It still looks great, however, and using ASUS Aura software, you can sync it to your other ASUS products. All in all, the GTX 1660 Ti does exactly what we expected it to do. It is performing like a GTX 1070, but it's sitting on a lower price point. So it's becoming the graphics card if you're going to do some 1080p gaming. Considering its technical improvements, it is an obvious choice over the 10 series and also over the AMD RX 580 and 590 cards. As for the ASUS and their Strix card, well, it's a typical textbook ROG card. It looks great, it overclocks itself really well, it is super cool, it is super quiet, so much more actually than its direct competitors. But when you talk about the high-end models of these low and mid-range cards, you really need to pay attention to pricing, because if it comes way too close to an RTX 2060, it's going to become really hard to recommend. So if you're going for this card, make sure you do your research. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about this review and about this card. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next one. Bye!